Hi everybody! So last week NS Airbrusher requested that I show everybody how Frisket works, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to recreate using Frisket the YouTube logo, and I'll just show you what Frisket is. Frisket is basically a sticky back clear sticker type material. So it's sticky on this side and you can see through it, which is kind of handy. I'm going to speed through a lot of the doing of this just because it's going to take a little bit of time and I don't have enough time to upload that to YouTube. But this is the sticky back paper, and I'll just show you tips and tricks as I go. So you can buy this at art supply stores, Michael's, wherever, and typically it's too sticky. It'll leave an adhesive film on your artwork if you don't get rid of some of the stick. So what I do to get rid of some of the stick is run it on my arm. And luckily I don't have very much hair on my arm, so men might have a problem with this. Just find something to stick it on that works. You can stick it on your pant leg of your jeans or whatever, just to get some of the stick off of it, and it'll work a lot easier for you. Then I'm just going to put it back on here, and I'm going to use a ink marker to trace this YouTube logo onto it, and then we'll get to how to place it on your paper. Okay, so I'm going to speed through this part, but see you in a few seconds. Alright, so now I'm ready to place this on my surface so that I can cut it out. So I'm just going to peel it from the paper. I always keep these because sometimes it's handy to keep this so that you can place this back on it if you wanted to keep it later, and it's a nice surface to help get it off. And then to place down your Frisket, depending on the size, the bigger they are, the harder it is to lay them down without any air bubbles. And so the easiest way to do it is to pinch it in half like this and then let it roll down. And that way you'll have less air bubbles caught underneath of it. Whereas if you try to put it on from this side like this and smooth it down, a lot of times you'll get air bubbles. I'm going to replace that so that it's as straight as I could get it. And then you want to press it down lightly. You want to make sure that it's good and stuck around your letters, so give it a good rub around the places that you're going to cut so that no paint sneaks underneath of those. And you can see all the cat hair and stuff that's stuck in there from my shirt and from my arms. And then we're going to take an X-Acto knife. This is a regular X-Acto knife with a number 11 blade, and I'm going to change the blade. It is easier to cut with a fresh blade, and you'll find when you're working with the blades that the newer the blade is just super easy. And then you'll find a part where it starts to like tug and pull, and you don't want to use those dull blades to cut anything. I could probably get through cutting out all of this with one blade, and then I'd probably switch to a new blade. So I just place that in there and tighten it up, and then I'm going to cut around every one of the letters. I'm not going to pull them out as I go though. I'm going to Okay, so now it's all cut out, and before I proceed to any spraying, I want to protect this exposed area out here because I don't want to get overspray onto the actual paper and ruin my work. So I'll just cover that up with some scrap paper. Alright, so now I got to think about how I'm going to address this, and of course whatever picture you're trying to replicate, you've got to plan it out a little bit. So I know I want the U part to be black, and I know I want the tube part to be white and the back to be red. So I'm going to work on this part first, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that piece of the backing from the Frisket film, and I'm going to pick out the letters and place them on this piece of paper, and then I'm going to I'm going to airbrush this black. And the way to get the letters off easy is just to use the tip of your knife to pick up an edge and then slowly pick away. And there's going to be times where they're not going to come out easy because you didn't cut all the way around, and that's perfectly fine. You just go in and make an extra little cut. And you want to go slow. This one's going to be difficult. You want to go slow because you don't want to pull out like that middle O. The middle of this O might have stayed behind, and I don't want to rip it out of place and then try to have to figure out where it belongs. And the Y. There we go. And just before I start spraying, I'm just going to touch everything down a little bit. So I'll just spray that black and speed through that and be right back. Alright, so now that's all filled in, I just wanted to show you a trick. Sometimes when you're coloring or you're using Frisket, you want to see, you know, did I get it dark enough or did it cover all the areas I wanted it to? And you can use your fingernail to scrape away the Frisket or the paint that's on the Frisket and see what you've got behind. Then you get your fingernails all dirty, but this is just a number 2. It's a paper roll thing that you use to, when you charcoal draw, to smudge. These are really cheap and easy to find at art supply stores, and you can just use that and clean up the Frisket around the area to make sure that you got everything you wanted colored. So that's just a tip. We don't need to do it in this particular case. Next step I'm going to do is, it's probably not apparent when you look at the YouTube icon quickly, but there is a black shadow at the top of all of these letters that I want to incorporate into this picture. And to do that, rather than pull all of these letters out, I'm just going to pull them back a little bit and add that tiny bit of color at the top and then place it back down. That way I won't have to struggle with repositioning this T in the exact hole that I'd left. So I'm just going to do that real quick. I'm going to speed through it. Okay, so now that I've got that done, I want to paint this area behind it red, and so I am going to show you a trick real fast. Because I'm working on a white surface and I want to make sure that I keep these, you know, the insides of the letters in, it's always a good idea just to give it a little dust so that you can actually see what's Frisket and what's paper. So give it a little dust with a color, and then there's no confusion whatsoever. So we'll just pick this area off that we want to paint red. Carefully. And if anything lifts up so that that U is loose, you just put it back down. And then when you're lifting, hold it in place. There we go. Then I'll put that on my Frisket backing, and then you can see here, see how obvious it is that the E and the B both have pieces in them? Now you won't leave them. I'll tell you one thing, there's no bigger piss-off in the world. Well, maybe there are bigger piss-offs in the world, but it always irritates me when I go and paint something like this and figure out I didn't remove a piece of Frisket. So there we go, and then I'm just going to push around the edges, make sure everything's good and stuck down, and then I'm going to paint that red. And the YouTube symbol actually fades red and then has this corner being a little white, so I'm going to use the white of the paper to add that fade. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with that, and now all I have to do is remove the Frisket. So I'll remove this paper first. Throw it away. And then remove the Frisket. And just like with when you're picking out the middles, you just can use your X-Acto knife to pick up an edge. and peel it slowly. And there you have it.